Welcome to the America 250 PA Start Here, America Did podcast, telling the unique stories that make up the diverse fabric of Pennsylvania.
Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to today's show devoted to the Pennsylvania Farm Show. I'm Cassandra Coleman, Executive Director of America 250 PA, and it's my great pleasure to introduce my friend and colleague, Caleb Wright, as our host today. Caleb, who is a renowned advocate for bipartisan policy initiatives, fervently champions the growth and preservation of Pennsylvania's agriculture industry and our rural communities. His profound knowledge, unwavering passion, and rich experience position him as the ideal host for today's show, where we will celebrate the achievements of our agricultural sector. Caleb's own winery, Armstrong Valley Winery, has impressively clinched over 6 awards at the Pennsylvania Farm Show, including a prestigious Best in Show. So without further ado, let's welcome Caleb to lead the way. Caleb, the stage is all yours.
Thanks, Cassandra. I'm happy to be here. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Caleb Wright. We're about to embark on a journey through Pennsylvania's rich agricultural landscape, celebrating the stars of the Pennsylvania Farm Show. This year is especially momentous as we mark the 108th anniversary of the Pennsylvania Farm Show, America's largest indoor agricultural event. More than just an impressive gathering, this show is a beacon for Pennsylvania's dynamic agricultural sector, contributing a staggering $132.5 billion to our economy and underpinning 1 in 10 jobs across our Commonwealth. For the past few years, America 250 PA has been a proud champion, highlighting and covering the farm show in partnership with the Pennsylvania Cable Network, with a combined goal to raise up, celebrate, and honor the industry that is the lifeblood to so many Pennsylvania families, businesses, and communities. As someone deeply passionate about agriculture, and as the proud owner of the award-winning Armstrong Valley Winery in Halifax, Pennsylvania, I'm ecstatic to host today's show. Whether you experienced the farm show's excitement firsthand, maybe with a milkshake or potato donut in hand, or this year you are new to its wonders, this podcast is your gateway to reliving and discovering the magic of the event. Now, let's delve into the winner's circle of this year's farm show. In today's opening segment, we're thrilled to feature a distinguished victor from the PA Farm Show Beer Contest. This year, the event celebrated a unique collaboration between America 250 PA, the Farm Show, and the Brewers of Pennsylvania. This partnership comes with an extraordinary honor. The winning brews from each farm show will be showcased at various events leading up to America's 250th anniversary in 2026, immortalizing them in our nation's history. Among these acclaimed breweries is GearHouse Brewing Company, our first standout champion of the day. GearHouse Brewing Company, situated in the charming town of Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, is a notable player in the Pennsylvania craft beer scene. Born from a friendship with a shared passion for brewing, GearHouse has evolved into an award-winning brewery celebrated for its exceptional and locally sourced beers. Beyond crafting exceptional brews, GearHouse Brewing is a story of community and dedication. They take immense pride in partnering with local farmers and suppliers, weaving the essence of Pennsylvania's Cumberland Valley into every pint they pour. For this year's contest, GearHouse Brewing made a remarkable splash, clinching an impressive 4 awards. Their standout moment was winning first place in the Blonde Ale Pale Ale category with their acclaimed brew, Canary in the Coal Mine. Here with us today is David Kozlowski, GearHouse's brewmaster. Excited to have you here, David.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Well, good morning to you too. On your website, it says that GearHouse started with a friendship built on shared love of beer and bikes. Can you tell us more about how this passion gave birth to GearHouse and the journey you've had since?
It's a bit of a story, and I'll try to paraphrase as much as possible. But we, the owners of GearHouse, are 3 married couples. My wife and I originated in Frederick, Maryland, and I was working for 2 other regional-sized breweries before GearHouse was born. Having put in my time and tenure learning the brewing industry, we made friends with Heather and Van Gray, who then introduced us to both Candace and Jesse McMath. And then at some point in 2015, we started writing a business plan and coming up with a plan for us to begin this venture and starting our own brewery. We scored our amazing historical building in December of 2015 through Heather and Van. Our building is actually part of the Cumberland Valley Railroad system that originated here in Chambersburg. And our building is the original shipping and receiving warehouse that was part of the railroad. When we were introduced to Candace and Jesse, Heather and Van, and my wife Erin and I all started getting together and sharing our love of beer, our love of food, and yes, our love of cycling. We have grown over the last 7 years since we've been opened in December of 2016. So a lot of us don't get as much riding time as we used to anymore, but we still get together over good food and good beverages.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I can imagine as a small business owner, that dedication to the business is definitely paramount. That cycling probably is a little more therapeutic than it might have been before, though, I can imagine.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What do you believe sets GearHouse apart from other breweries? Are there specific brewing techniques, philosophies, ingredients that you feel really help to define that brand in a very competitive market?
As I mentioned, I came from the brewing industry. I originated in the wine world in Loudoun County, Virginia, starting in about 2006. And I made a jump to beer in 2009, working for a large brewing facility that was based in Frederick, Maryland at that time. And then I moved on to another regional sized brewery that is based in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And I spent another 3 years with them. I learned a lot of things along the way from both those breweries and that winery. So we have incorporated a lot of those larger scale techniques and process types in making our beer here at GearHouse. And then on top of that, understanding the various versions and varieties of our ingredients that we can source from across the globe. We have used that knowledge and technology in order to facilitate similar recipes, but for our styles and for our consumers within the Chambersburg region and Franklin County as a whole.
That's incredible. As a winery owner myself, there's the old adage in the industry that says it takes a lot of beer to make good wine. So I certainly appreciate that crossover within the two industries personally. With over 14,000 likes on Facebook, GearHouse has a significant following. How do you engage with your community and incorporate customer feedback into your brewing process?
We have, over the last 7 years being open, participated in a number of fundraising and community outreach special events here at GearHouse, and then also across the state with the brewers in Pennsylvania, as well as the brewers of Pennsylvania. We have been partnered or been a partner in collaborative efforts amongst several dozen other breweries in order to facilitate either fundraising or outreach recognition for special groups such as SCAP or veterans associations that are related to the state of Pennsylvania. Regarding our social media and outreach, we have a fantastic marketing manager that we have brought onto our team within the last year. And then we also do our best to provide a community experience within our brewery and brew pub location here in Chambersburg.
That's incredible. It really is unique and awesome how certainly that craft beverage industry has been able to engage in those communities in that space. And it sounds like that's pretty paramount to GearHouse as well from that answer. Let's jump right into Farm Show, though, the kind of the base of today's conversation. You achieved notable success, including a first place in the blonde ale, pale ale category with your brew Canary in the Coal Mine. What does this recognition mean to you? And could you tell us more about this winning brew and what makes it so special?
This is our first blue ribbon from the PA Farm Show. We have competed a couple of times in the past since the Farm Show started incorporating beer and having a judging event, which I believe started in 2019. This is the first year we've actually submitted this recipe as one of our submissions, though. And ironically, the name actually comes from the fact that it is the first recipe that we had scaled up to our brew house size when we first started brewing on site at GearHouse. So Canary in the Coal Mine started as the first 2 test batches of our brew system that I had sourced and installed myself here. And then it stuck. It was quite popular. It's been very popular amongst our local community fans. And then it has been gaining traction in the last year and a half now with our outside sales and wholesale sales. And now since the award ceremony has been announced, we've even gotten some requests from a few more new accounts that are interested in purchasing this beer and serving it on site.
That's awesome. One of your first beers to go through that system, your first blue ribbon. That's a pretty cool connection in my mind and opinion. Your mission statement emphasizes a passion for Pennsylvania beer and its community. What does being a Pennsylvania brewery mean to you, and how do you see GearHouse playing a role in the Commonwealth's booming agricultural industry highlighted by the Farm Show?
Beer is a social beverage. I believe most every brewery or brewer or brewery owner would probably agree with that. And because of that social aspect of beer, we have tried to create an environment and a space that allows our customers to come and interact with our staff. And they're provided not just fantastic beverages of beer, but also within the state of Pennsylvania, Act 39 that came online when we were getting our license in 2016 allows us the ability to also sell other manufactured products within the state of Pennsylvania. So we have more than just the manufacturing of beer as a license, but we're allowed to sell other alcoholic products that are also produced in Pennsylvania, such as wine, cider, and spirits, which in effect gives us as a brewery a full bar capability. We have been working with several different manufacturers from across the state in different areas of beverages. And then we as a team come together and work on cocktail ideas, non-alcoholic mocktail ideas. We do pairings and ticketed tasting events so that we can highlight some of these other manufacturers across the state. And it's one of the positives that I think the Brewing Guild in Pennsylvania has going for it. Not every state works the same way, as every state is going to be controlled with its own state set of rules. But Pennsylvania is one of those better ones because we're required to have food. We have a full restaurant on site. And then also with that Act 39, we have the ability to have a full bar, even if it's not generic or, Tennessee whiskey, Kentucky bourbon, California wine. We have similar products that have been produced in the state of Pennsylvania that we can then resell to our customers.
Thank you, David, for sharing GearHouse's journey and allowing us to learn more about you and your award-winning craft. Congratulations on your wins.
Thank you guys very much.
For our next segment, you may want to cleanse your palate and grab a pancake or two as we meet our next guest who can taste sweet, sweet victory. Now, we're immersing ourselves in the rich, sticky, and sweet world of Pennsylvania-crafted maple syrup. Coryea's Maple Products, a staple in Mercer County, Pennsylvania, has been flourishing since 1987, with a history of tapping maple trees that traces back even further. At the core of Coryea's Maple Products lies a deep-seated commitment to capturing the natural abundance of Mercer County's sprawling maple forests. The Coryea family, deeply entrenched in the community, has skillfully refined the art of maple syrup production across the years, seamlessly integrating time-honored methods with their distinctive flair for creativity and taste. At this year's farm show, Coryea's Maple Products, expertly led by Haley Coryea, achieved remarkable success, securing over 15 awards. Impressively, 5 of these accolades celebrated the excellence of their syrup, while numerous others recognized the innovative ways the syrup was utilized. Joining us today is Haley Coryea herself, eager to share the story of her family's acclaimed maple syrup business and the journey behind their award-winning success. Thanks for being a part of the show today, Haley.
Thanks, I'm really excited.
Let's jump right to it then. Coryea's Maple Products is a Pennsylvania family-owned business that has been operating since 1987. Can you share with us the history of how your family got into the maple syrup business? And how has it changed over the past 3 decades?
My grandfather started when he was 16 years old. Originally, he started helping out a neighbor. And then when the neighbor started losing his vision many years later, this is after my parents and my aunts and uncles were all born and everything. My grandpa had asked the family if they'd be willing to purchase their own equipment and start producing it ourselves. And we've been doing it. That was in 1987. And we've been doing it ourselves ever since. So most of my grandfather's life, my dad's whole life, and then my whole life. And then I have little cousins now who are also learning. So that's our 4th generation is just starting to learn the process as well, too.
That's awesome. The future looks bright. So how has it really changed over those 3 decades, though?
We started out as a very small hobby production, pretty much only making maybe 20, 40 gallons a year at most. And now at that point, we're cooking for other people too. People would bring us their sap and we'd cook it for them. So not all of that was for our own personal business or use or however we wanted to do with it. Now we're cooking on a much larger scale and we have many products that include imperial products, not just maple syrup. And we're cooking on a good year, maybe close to 300 gallons.
That's incredible. For our listeners who are new to the world of maple syrup, could you provide a brief overview of the process from tree to table, enlightening us on how this sweet delicacy is crafted?
The maple season in Pennsylvania will sometime between February and March. It can last from a week to 2 months. It's all weather depending. Our whole entire season completely depends on what Mother Nature decides to hand to us. So right now we're just starting to get into the woods and we're setting up our equipment. We're like, if any trees have fallen, we're trimming up trees. We're fixing lines. We're starting to tap trees here in the next week. Ideally, the single digit temperature is not allowing us to be in the woods.
I don't think anyone wants to be out in the single digit temperatures, that's for sure.
Oh, no. And then, so we use a line system to collect all our stuff. We don't have any buckets anymore because it's a lot of labor, and doing the lines cuts down a lot of labor for us. So from the lines, it all runs to a central collection tank. And then from there, we haul it to our sugar house, or some of it runs right into our sugar house. And we filter it and run it through a reverse osmosis machine that cuts some of the water out, which helps cut down our cooking time. And then from there, we run it through our evaporator. And we cook out the water. We make the pure maple syrup that everyone enjoys. And so from tree to barrel, it takes, we're at around 5 or 6 hours every day, but we sometimes more, sometimes less, because you might have a small run or you might have a lot of sap you got to cook down. You're there till midnight.
Wow. Are there any additional unique or lesser known steps in your method that the listeners might find particularly interesting?
We're pretty standard on our stuff. I mean, us being smaller, we might not cook our sap every single day. We have like what you would use to store milk in, a milk bulk tank to keep our sap cool. So say we have it's not a good run. We'll maybe collect like 100 gallons one day or something, just kind of clean our tanks out. We'll run that through reverse osmosis and we'll cool it. And then at the end of the week, we'll just do a big cook. And it saves us a lot of time, not being a massive producer. Like we're an average size producer. So it's a lot of people don't realize you can store sap, I guess.
How does the unique climate and landscape of Pennsylvania contribute to the quality and production of your maple syrup? And I'm a winery owner, so in the wine world, we call this terroir, where really that climate impacts the quality of your grapes. I'm curious how Pennsylvania's climate impacts the quality of our maple syrup.
This is like one of those big things amongst all maple producers through all the states and everything. So arguably, Pennsylvania has some of the best maple syrup. This is mostly not because of the climate, but because statistically our soil is very rich in vitamins, antioxidants, and nutrients and all this good stuff in the soil that our trees grow in. And all of that goes through into our sap, and that ends up in our final product also, because it's an all natural product. So whatever comes from the nutrients and everything in the soil and through the tree ends up in our product. So it's a much more nutrient dense product compared to, say, some other states that produce maple syrup.
At the farm show, you won over 15 awards, which is incredibly impressive. And many of them were for your maple syrup alone. What do you think sets your maple syrup apart?
We really enjoy the whole industry of the maple, not just like making it, but the people in it and the people we meet and everything. And we love teaching about it. So we take a lot of pride in our product. So we always make sure to provide a really good product to our customers and just to ourselves even, because we really enjoy it. I mean, my dad says I have blood running, like my blood is pure maple syrup, and I have a maple syrup leaf entry and a bottle tattooed on my arm. So I am like fully committed to the maple syrup industry. And we just really take a lot of pride and passion in our products. And we try to make sure that goes through everything we make.
That's awesome. As a farm show winner, can you describe to us the value you think the farm show has on your industry and the agriculture industry as a whole?
The farm show, it truly is just amazing in many, many aspects. I mean, for the maple industry, it unites us producers from all over the state to promote the industry that we do love. I mean, we all spend the week down here talking and sharing tips and just enjoying our last week pretty much for its full force maple season. I mean, and overall, through all the industries, and the camaraderie throughout the week is amazing. I mean, everyone there shares the same passion for their industry and for the agriculture industry in general. And it's great to see everyone down there for the same reason, just promote what PA agriculture is and how prominent it is and important it is to everything throughout the state.
How do you think participating in the farm show has positively impacted your business?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, over the last few years, like with how well we've done as far as the competitions and everything like that, we've got customers from that side of the state. Obviously, we're like right on the Ohio line pretty much. We're only 1 mile from Ohio. So us coming clear to the farm show and winning all these awards and everything, we've got people who will call us knowing that we've won Best in Show, we've got Premier Exhibitor and Best Collective and everything over the years, and just knowing how well we've done. And they call us wanting us to ship our products over to them because they really want it. And there's these people would never have found us or known about us if we wouldn't have gone down to the farm show.
It was wonderful speaking with you today, Haley. It's businesses like yours that make Pennsylvania such a sweet place to be. Thank you for being here and sharing your and your family's craft with us. I think the only thing better is if we were doing it over pancakes and maybe some of your maple syrup.
If you want, we do have a website where you could purchase our products. It is CoryeaMapleProducts.com. And there's a lot of our information and stuff on there too, but we have majority of our products on there. We ship all over the state as well as many other states within the country. Anytime we have any new products or anything, we also do share that on our social media on Facebook, which is Coryea Maple Products. And about a few times a year, I come up with a few new products too.
That's incredible. Thanks so much for sharing, Haley.
You're welcome.
As we savor the last notes of maple syrup, let's shift our focus to another culinary delight that Pennsylvania takes great pride in, our cheeses. For our next winter, we're venturing into the picturesque hills of northern Allegheny County, just a stone's throw from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to explore the enchanting world of Goat Rodeo Farm and Dairy. Spanning a lush 130 acres, this family-owned gem is more than just a farm. It's a haven for over 100 alpine and Nubian dairy goats, each contributing to the farm's rich legacy of cheesemaking excellence. At this year's farm show, the spotlight shone bright on Goat Rodeo Farm and Dairy cheeses, winning 5 awards, 2 for their delectable goat milk cheeses and 3 for their extraordinary mixed milk varieties. 3 of these cheeses soared to first place and 2 to second, affirming Goat Rodeo's dedication to flavor, quality, and artisanal cheesemaking. Today, we're here with Will Lovner, a representative of Goat Rodeo Farm and Dairy. Thanks for being here, Will.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We're honored to have you with us. What inspired the creation of Goat Rodeo Farm and Dairy, and how did you evolve from a single goat to a thriving herd of over 100?
Yeah, so I grew up on the farm here in Allegheny County, and my mom had grown up on a farm in Sarver where they raised beef cattle. We wanted to be a part of preserving small farms and farmland in Western PA, and growing up, we had pigs and sheep, and I showed sheep in 4-H. So as far as our start with goats, it all started with 2 goats, Evie and Crystal. My mom's friend had invited her to see a goat show, and with no plans to buy any goats, my mom came home with Evie and Crystal, the first and second place finishers at the show. Evie and Crystal were pregnant, and a few months later, we went from 2 to 4 goats and milking. We had lots of fresh milk, and my parents started experimenting with making cheese so we could do something with the milk. They took classes at Penn State and the University of Vermont to learn more about cheese making and the process behind it. As the herd grew, we had more milk and made more cheeses and different varieties too. So we started selling our cheeses originally at local farmers markets and then grew the business to work with distributors so that we could reach more customers and sell it in wider places in PA and also out of the state as well. So I graduated from Penn State with a degree in agribusiness management and then joined the business after graduating. And today we use milk from our herd plus 2 other goat dairies and a local cow dairy.
Well, it's a pleasure to connect with a fellow Penn Stater. So that makes this interview and engaging conversation even better from my perspective. Could you share the journey behind developing your signature mixed milk cheeses and what makes this approach unique in the cheesemaking world?
So our mixed milk cheeses are our favorite because they combine the zing of goat's milk and the creaminess of cow's milk, but we're proud of all of our cheeses. Each one has its own flavor profile depending on the milk and cultures and the make process, and as well as the aging that we use. So we use traditional European cheesemaking methods for all of our cheeses. Each cheese is made in small batches with a very hands-on process. We use a small vat, fresh milk, and follow careful affinage. So the affinage is caring for the cheese after the cheesemaking and during the aging process. So our 6 cheeses are Fresh Chev, which is a fresh goat's milk soft cheese, our Hootenanny, which is an all goat's milk Gouda style with a wax rind. Our mixed milk cheeses are Bamboozle, which is a beer washed mixed milk cheese, and Cowboy Coffee, which is a mixed milk cheddar with a coffee rub from a local coffee shop. and wild rosemary, which is a mixed milk Spanish style, similar to manchego, which is rubbed with olive oil and rosemary. And lastly, we have our all cow's milk, Gouda style wax rind cheese.
So why did you decide to make a majority of your cheeses mixed milk?
We went for the mixed milk just because we found that it combines the best flavors of the goat's milk and cow's milk can offer. So it's the zing of the goat's milk and the creaminess of cow's milk just creates this flavor profile that we really liked. And so that's why we use that with most of our cheeses.
What role does the local Allegheny County environment play in the quality and flavor profile of your cheeses?
The grasses and native plants here in Allegheny County, they impact the flavor of the milk a lot, and that in turn impacts the flavor of the cheese. So Pennsylvania has a wide variety of native pasture plants, and the goats love most of them. So the milk changes throughout the season and throughout the year with just what the forage is in the fields. So in the spring, during the spring flush, everything is super green, and the goats are just eating a ton of plants in the pasture. So this actually affects their milk production, and their milk production rises. It also is rising in the spring because they have their kids around then. So that's their peak production. As the summer comes around, everything starts to get a little brown. So then we give them a little more hay in the barn and a little more grain at milking time, but they're still out in the pasture a lot. And then in the fall, there's the fall flush. So everything starts to get a little green again, and they're foraging a lot in the pasture. So we found that just all that pasture access really affects the quality of our milk and really just helps us make a great product.
Let's dig further into your dairy goats. How do you ensure the welfare and happiness of your Alpine and Nubian goats, and how does this impact the quality of your dairy products?
Happy, healthy goats and cows, we found, definitely produce the most delicious milk, which in turn makes the most delicious cheese. So our goats browse on large pesticide-free pastures, have plenty of clean, dry indoor space, fresh water, and lots of attention. They are very happy goats, and we've just found that with all this pasture access, it really makes the best, highest quality milk. It just makes the happiest goats too. So I live up here on the farm, and my house is right next to the pasture. And one of my favorite things is just being able to see the goats out my window. And it's great seeing them outside and just being happy. And then with our products, I think you can taste the difference with the effect it has on the quality of the milk. So I think that's one of my favorite things about Goat Rodeo.
Personal question. Do you have a favorite doe or female goat?
I do, yeah. So my favorite goat is Jingle right now. She's an Alpine. The goats have like a social structure in the herd. So she's one of the boss goats. So she's a very stubborn goat, but she's a great milker. And I think she's a really good looking goat, and she has a lot of personality.
That's awesome. Winning 5 awards at the farm show is an impressive feat. What practices in your craft led to your victory?
We're very excited about the awards at the farm show, and we're also excited about some national and international awards that we've won in the past year. I think what led to our victory was we have a great small team here on the farm, and we all care a lot about the craft of cheese making and the importance of keeping small farms a part of Western Pennsylvania. Goat Rodeo's mission statement is to create a delicious product and preserve Pennsylvania farmland one wheel of cheese at a time.
How do events like Farm Show help in promoting local farms, artisanal cheese making, and further supporting your mission?
Events like the Farm Show are super important to us. Recognition in the competition helps get the word out there about our farm and cheeses, and motivates us to keep working on making the most delicious cheeses possible.
Will, thank you for being here today. Your passion for creating exceptional goat and mixed milk cheeses truly sets Goat Rodeo apart. If I wanted to buy some of your product, how would you recommend I do so?
Yeah, so the best way to find Goat Rodeo cheese is through our website, goatrodeocheese.com. On our website, you can buy gift boxes with a variety of our cheeses, or can buy any of our cheeses or our caramels. So definitely go check out the website.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
As we leave the rolling hills of Allegheny County, we're now heading east to the heart of Lancaster County for our next story. Here, the world of cheesemaking takes on a new dimension, encompassing not only goats, but also cows and sheep. For our final segment, we're honored to welcome Aaron Glick from Clover Valley Creamery in Lancaster County. Clover Valley Creamery, located in Coryea, Pennsylvania, specializes in creating handmade, artisanal, camembert-style cheeses made from cow, sheep, or goat milk, offering a unique and rich flavor profile. The creamery's commitment to traditional cheese-making methods, coupled with meticulous attention to every production detail, has garnered them not one, but 2 Best of Show accolades at this year's farm show. Indeed, their exceptional cheeses, Sheep Dreams and Blooming Clover, stood out as 2 of the top 3 in the competition. We're delighted to have Aaron Glick, the driving force behind Clover Valley Creamery, here with us. Aaron, we're eager to delve into the story of your farm and uncover the secrets behind your extraordinary cheese creations. Welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
We're glad you're here. Can you tell us a bit more about your creamery? What do your daily operations look like?
The daily operations usually start around 4 in the morning, with the first batch of cheese being pasteurized at that point. From there, we are washing up molds, trays, and racks from the day before, salting cheese. There's always cheese to be packaged. The first batch is usually finished by around 10 o'clock. At that point, we'll start on the second batch. We usually have a chance to take a lunch break over the second batch. We like to have the second batch finished up between 3:30 and 4 o'clock, usually about when that happens. That's kind of the daily rundown in the creamery. After the creamery, there's always things to do on the farm, which makes for a full day.
I can only imagine the craziness, especially operating a business such as Clover Valley. Aaron, can you share, is Clover Valley Creamery family owned?
Yes, it is.
And so how do members of your family get involved in the cheese production?
My wife, Sadie Mae, usually helps a lot with the cleanup in the morning, cleaning molds, cleaning trays, racks, whatever cleanup there is to do. And our oldest son, Andrew, he's 9 years old. He usually works side by side with Sadie when she's cleaning up. And our oldest daughter, she's 11 years old. Her name is Ruth Ann. She usually helps with the cheese packaging, putting labels on cheese, putting cheese in boxes, taping boxes, whatever there is to do in the packaging line. It makes for a very nice family job.
I can imagine. And especially that cleanliness, I'm sure, being essential to high quality products. Let's dig further into this cheese making process. And I'm sure the artisanal style of cheese that you make, it can be very complex, but maybe for our listeners, can you help walk us through some of that cheese making process?
Yes, I can. That's a very interesting process. The first step, of course, is the pasteurization. Our pasteurizer holds 400 pounds of milk. We take it through the pasteurizing process, which is heating the milk to 145 degrees and holding it there for 32 minutes. If we're making the blooming clover, we add cream to the milk, which then needs to be pasteurized 5 degrees higher, which is 150 degrees for 32 minutes. After the pasteurizing process is finished, we cool the milk back down between 100 and 105 degrees. At that point, we'll put the cultures into the milk. And what the cultures do is they drive the pH of the milk from approximately 6.6 down to a point where we want to add the rennet. And that takes about 2 to 2.5 hours. Once we reach our desired pH level, we add the rennet. And what the rennet does is that sets up the cheese. I always describe it as a big bowl of Jell-O, is what it looks like. We let it set for approximately 30 minutes, give or take. At that point, we take the curd knives into it. Then you have curds and whey. From there, we'll have intervals of 10 minutes of letting the curd sit and then stirring for 1 minute until the curds are ready to put into the molds, which is usually about half an hour, about 3 intervals of 10 minutes of sitting and 1 minute of stirring. The curds are put into the molds by hand. We have a small quart pitcher we use to just fill every mold one time. Once that's done, they sit in the molds overnight, where they'll drain most of the way out. Of course, it's a cheese that's high in moisture, so we don't want to lose all the whey. The following morning, the cheese gets taken out of the molds, and we dry salt the cheese. and which at that point is when most of the cleanup happens. The molds are washed to use again that day. The trays are washed. The racks are washed. When the cheese is solid, it gets put into the aging room where it stays for 10 to 14 days. And that's where it gets its bloomy rind. It grows a nice white rind, which is kind of the signature to the Camembert cheeses. And from that point, it gets wrapped, packaged in boxes, and ready to send out.
Certainly a complex process, which I can imagine took a little bit of time to master.
It sure did. It's an interesting process, lots of attention to detail to get it right.
I bet. So your cheeses, Blooming Clover and Sheep Dreams, both won first place at the farm show this year. And not only that, they were also Best of Show Award winners. So what sets your cheese apart from the others?
That's a very interesting question, and one that I'm not sure if I can answer properly. Probably the judges at the farm show could answer that one better. But number one, the Sheep Dreams is made of sheep milk. There's just not a lot of sheep milk camemberts on the market. That in itself sets that one apart. The Blooming Clover, it's an artisanal cheese. It's handmade. It's from local grass-fed milk. It has a very rich flavor profile, a lot more so than some cheeses that you'll buy at the grocery store. That's probably the best explanation that I have of what sets us apart from others.
It sounds like we're just going to have to get some of your cheese and taste it beside some others and kind of dig into those details too on that flavor profile, which I'm not opposed to, not going to lie, Aaron, not going to lie. Mm-hmm. So why do you personally participate in the farm show? Do you think it's helped to lift up your creamery?
The main reason that I participate in the farm show is to get an unbiased opinion from an industry professional. The judges that judge the cheeses, they're in the cheese industry. They'll give you an unbiased opinion on your scorecard. That is one of the number one reasons that we participate in the competition. It helps us improve our cheeses. And I feel that has helped us quite a bit. This is probably our fourth time entering in the farm show. We've always got some good feedback that tell you where your cheese is right or wrong, and it helps you improve everything overall. And the other thing it gets you recognized by your peers in Pennsylvania. Other cheesemakers recognize you, and if we all stand together and help each other, we can lift up the industry. I mean, like it's been said, a rising tide raises all the boats, is what I like to think.
Exactly. I think that's a very unique perspective, especially elevating that cheese production here, especially with Pennsylvania having such a strong dairy industry. And speaking of that dairy industry, your creamery has milk from not only cows, but sheep and goats. I'm curious, which animal produces your favorite cheese, and can you taste the difference?
Probably my number one cheese is a nice, ripe cow milk camembert, which would be the Blooming Clover. The Sheep Dreams is a lot more complex in flavor. And if you can taste the difference, you definitely can. It's kind of hard to describe. The Blooming Clover is more creamy, buttery, not quite as complex and diverse as the Sheep Dreams. It's bursting with all kinds of flavor profiles.
Wonderful. Aaron, thanks so much for sharing your time with us today. We understand the incredible dedication and effort that goes into crafting your delicious cheeses, and we're truly honored to have gained such valuable insights into Clover Valley Creamery.
Well, thank you very much, Caleb, for having me on board. It was a pleasure. If anybody ever has any questions or would like to have the cheese in their cheese shop or their restaurants, feel free to reach out to us. My telephone number is 717-440-4931. We'd be happy to help anybody out that wishes to have some of the cheeses.
And so if some of our listeners wanted to buy cheese, they could do so directly from you, or where could our listeners buy some of your cheese products?
Our distribution in Pennsylvania is not quite as high as we'd like to. We have a good bit going into New York. There is some restaurants in Pennsylvania by the name of Harvest, and they are currently carrying the Blooming Clover on their menu, and I think the Sheep Dreams is on their cheese boards. That's one place where they can buy some. I'd say reach out to me and I'll see if I can get some to anybody. I mean, I'd hate to have somebody not having a cheese if they can't find it anywhere.
Especially those blue ribbon best of show winners at the farm show. Certainly something people should be able to give a shot and enjoy, right?
Right. Definitely.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us here today, Aaron. We so greatly appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
As today's journey through Pennsylvania's diverse agricultural landscape comes to a close, I'm incredibly thankful for the stories shared by our guests. We've delved into GearHouse Brewing's innovative brewing, savored the sweet traditions of Coryea's maple products, explored the exceptional cheeses of Rodeo Farm and Dairy, and admired Clover Valley Creamery's dedication to traditional cheese making. It's remarkable that all these stories stem from family-owned businesses, embodying the dedication, passion, and resilience that are the backbone of Pennsylvania's agricultural sector, and underscoring the critical role of supporting Pennsylvania local farms and businesses. To every listener who joined us on this enlightening journey, your participation and support are invaluable in nurturing and preserving the rich heritage and promising future of Pennsylvania's agriculture. Each choice to support local producers is a step towards sustaining the legacy and vibrancy of our Commonwealth's farmland. This is Caleb Wright signing off, asking you to remember to support local and to celebrate the abundance our land and its diligent caretakers have to offer. Thanks for listening.
We hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Here at America 250 PA, we are striving to make 2026 epic as we educate, preserve, innovate, and celebrate everything Pennsylvania has to offer. Do you have an epic idea for a podcast story? Go to america250pa.org to submit your idea. Thanks again for joining us.
This has been the America 250 PA Start Here, America Did podcast, produced by Commonwealth Media Services. Stay tuned for more epic Pennsylvania stories at america250pa.org.